Your mind is a battlefield. Every thought that enters it is either a soldier or a spy. Every weakness that you tolerate becomes a traitor, working from within. Every decision you make, no matter how small, ripples out, shaping the world around you. Some rule nations, others rule only themselves. But both are governed by the same principle. If you master your mind, you master everything. This is not self-help fluff. It's not about morning routines or mantras. This is about history. Now, the most dangerous minds in history bent reality with discipline, cunning, and control. We're not here to admire them. We're here to learn from them. This is Mastering Your Mind, Lessons from History. Number 1. Niccolo Machiavelli. Control the narrative. Let's begin with Niccolo Machiavelli, a man often misunderstood as a villain, when in truth, he was a surgeon of reality. Exiled from Florence, abandoned by power and branded with failure, he turned to his pen. In his infamous book, The Prince, he laid out one of the most cold-blooded truths about human nature. People are more moved by appearances than by facts. As he put it, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Machiavelli knew something most leaders ignore. You don't need to be good. You need to look competent. Perception is power. Image is everything. And in a world where people are more influenced by what they believe than what is, those who control the narrative control outcomes. Respect, according to Machiavelli, isn't earned by begging for approval. It's taken by commanding fear and admiration at the same time. But never a trade. He warned that while being feared can be useful, being hated is fatal. Machiavelli believed that power does not come to those who wait for approval, but to those who anticipate betrayal and act regardless of public opinion. He studied Cesare Borgia, the ruthless commander who gained and lost power not by moral choices, but by timing, illusion, and force. To Machiavelli, Borgia represented the ideal prince, decisive, feared, and unshaken by conscience when the moment called for ruthlessness. The modern equivalent? Stop asking for permission. Stop explaining your every move. Be deliberate in how you are seen, because in the end, history doesn't remember who was nicest. It remembers who won. Number 2. Marcus Aurelius. Discipline over emotion. Now let's talk about Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and student of the Stoic path. Unlike Machiavelli, Aurelius was a philosopher in power, and his battlefield was internal. In his journal Meditations, written not for the world but for himself, he reminded his future self of a singular truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus didn't just face political pressure. He ruled during plague, war, betrayal, and loss. Yet in every crisis, he turned inward, mastering the only domain he truly controlled, his own thoughts. He wrote, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance.'" This was not pessimism. It was preparation. Marcus was not reactive. He was grounded. While the empire shook around him, he stood like stone, not because he felt no emotion, but because he trained himself to respond, not to react. In the silence of the night, Marcus wrote to himself, not as an emperor, but as a man struggling to stay centered in a world of constant storms. "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be," he said. "Be one." He reminds us that mastering the mind isn't a destination. It's a daily war. And every moment you hesitate to act with reason, Every time you surrender to emotion, you give your enemies a weapon. In mastering your own psychology, you become unbreakable, even if the world crumbles around you. Number 3. Napoleon Bonaparte. Reframe failure, command belief. Next, Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who rose from obscurity to command all of Europe. What's often forgotten about Napoleon is how often he lost. His first campaign in Egypt, a disaster. His exile to Elba, a humiliation. His final defeat at Waterloo, a tragedy. But here's the difference. Napoleon used every setback as fuel. His words were simple but brutal. Victory belongs to the most persevering. He was mocked for his size, rejected by aristocracy, and yet, through sheer will, strategy, and mental resilience, he became emperor. Why? Because his mind never surrendered, not even in exile. He escaped Elba, returned to France with a handful of loyal men, and in 100 days retook an empire. That is not luck. That is mental supremacy. Napoleon was not just a master of the battlefield. He was a master of attention. He once said, "A leader is a dealer in hope." His soldiers would follow him into fire because he created belief, not just in the mission, but in themselves. Even in defeat, he maintained control of the narrative. He mythologized himself. His exile was not seen as shame, but as suspense. His return? Legendary. This is psychological warfare. Reframe your losses, control the story, and make even your silence feel like strategy. Number 4. Genghis Khan. Delay, dominate, endure. Now to Genghis Khan, Bernard. Orun, Machiavelli into chaos, betrayal, and death. Yet he became the most feared conqueror in human history. He didn't just win battles, he reshaped the world. How? By thinking differently about time. Genghis Khan wasn't reactive. He wasn't emotional. He played the long game. While his enemies looked for short-term glory, Genghis built networks, broke alliances, and waited years before striking. He taught his warriors to delay gratification. He embedded psychological warfare into military strategy. He let rage cool into precision. The man who had nothing became a ruler of everything, because he trained his mind not just for war, but for endurance. So what do we learn? Think in decades, plan for years, move in silence, and strike only when the game is already won in your head. Number 5. Sun Tzu. Self-awareness is strategy. And then there's Sun Tzu, the ancient Chinese strategist whose words echo in every boardroom, battlefield, and mind game today. He wrote, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." But how many of us truly know ourselves? Sun Tzu's real mastery wasn't about swords or formations. It was psychological warfare. His greatest teaching, win without fighting. Anticipate before reacting. Manipulate before confronting. To do that, he demanded self-awareness. He taught that the mind must be clear, calm, and calculated. You cannot control others until you fully command yourself. If you act from impulse, you lose. If you move with insight, you dominate. Sun Tzu also taught that supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. That's not just about war, it's about life. Influence your boss before they criticize. Make your presence felt without confrontation. Win the argument before it's even spoken. Mastery of the mind, to Sun Tzu, meant understanding your environment, manipulating tempo, and knowing when to do nothing. Silence is not inaction. It's preparation. Delay is not weakness. It's precision. So ask yourself, what are your patterns? What are your triggers? Where are you weak? Find them, train them, and never let your enemy see them. The power of silence. Finally, a theme that runs through all these minds. Silence. Silence is the weapon of kings. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon without warning. Leonardo da Vinci hid his greatest designs in private notebooks. Queen Elizabeth I ruled by saying less than her rivals ever knew. Because power doesn't announce itself. It observes, it listens, it waits. When you speak too much, you give the world your map. When you say nothing, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is terrifying. Silence is strategy. It creates mystique. It forces others to reveal themselves first. Master your tongue. Master your timing. Speak with purpose, or not at all. Outro, the blueprint of power. So what does it all mean? Machiavelli taught us that appearances shape reality. Marcus Aurelius showed that inner discipline is the foundation of peace. Napoleon proved that persistence is the edge between loss and empire. Genghis Khan modeled long-term domination. Sun Tzu demanded self-awareness. And history's greatest minds wielded silence like a blade. These aren't just stories. These are psychological operations. Every lesson here is a piece of a larger code, one that history's most ruthless and brilliant minds understood. That the world bends to those who master themselves first. You don't need a throne. You don't need an army. You need control of your impulses, your perception, your narrative. The next war you fight will be in your own head. Win it. Subscribe for more lessons from power, war, and ancient minds.